Hey, it's Aaron Murray with the Players Lounge, and shout out to Athens Ford dealership where we are today shooting our show. It is the hometown dealer here in Athens, Georgia. They got the best deals around with low prices, huge selection, and the Athens Ford advantage. Hey, what's going on? Aaron Murray, and we are back at Athens Ford. Make sure you come check it out for all your needs, and don't forget to mention TPL as well to get discounts on your next exchange. I'm with Brooks Austin. This is just our spot here at Ford.
Yeah.
We had I think we had the Bronco last time. No,
I think it
we
was
had
the Mustang.
Mustang last time.
Yeah.
Now we got the Raptor.
Yeah.
Which I got rid of my truck, unfortunately, because I had to get like the Big Dad Expedition, and I missed the truck. I'm not gonna lie. Sitting here looking
This
at this
thing's
thing,
pretty gnarly.
yeah, good color scheme too.
Yeah. I like the gray. I do.
If you want it, you can come get it. I'm sure they'll sell it to you.
If you want it, you can go get it.
You get this.
Yeah, I probably could. I don't know if I necessarily need a new truck right now, but these folks could probably convince me into one.
Yeah, I'm kind of itching to get back into a truck once again. Brooks and I are going to be doing shows all season long. We're going to do a little collaboration, back and forth, a little home and home. I'll be on his show one week. He'll come jump on TPL. The people love when you and I are together, so we didn't want to deprive Georgia fan bases of us breaking down the film. I'm excited to get into your spots. I'll let you kind of start with that first. I'll call it your lab.
Yeah.
You know, talk about your lab and what fans can experience and what I can experience when I get there next week.
So I was always frustrated with my old setup because, first of all, it was 2 walls I built in my garage. But I was always frustrated because we would find ourselves bumping into football conversations, and there was no way for me to get up and like physically demonstrate those things like we would in a meeting room, right? If we had an opportunity in a meeting room where a football topic came up or a concept discussion came up, I would be able to get up and walk over to a board and say, hey guys, come on, follow me. And there was no opportunity to do that. So when we bought our new home and moved over closer here to Athens, I wanted to design a studio that could. I have ADD, very much so, and I wanted.
No way.
Yeah, very much so way. I wanted a studio space that allowed my brain and my content to go wherever we went with discussions, because I think free-formed and free-flowing content is probably the best way to do it with regards to football discussions. So that's what we built. It is rather spacious, and all the cameras are what they call PTZ cameras. So they pan, tilt, and zoom. Wherever you want to go next week, we can go. We can go in that studio and walk around and take the conversation wherever it goes.
Can we do some, like under center snaps?
Absolutely.
5-step drops,
Absolutely.
3-step drops?
Yeah, we got plenty of room to get all kinds of weird up in that studio.
We're going to get weird next week. I will say this. I was working with a couple of my neighbors' kids that are starting, I think, 5th grade football.
Yeah.
And I was teaching them like 3-step drop, 5-step drop, the handoffs, all that good stuff. And I woke up the next day, my knees, from kind of like the side to side, I'm like, damn, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Like, that's bad.
It's probably because you're just playing golf.
Yeah, probably.
When in your free time, I know you don't have very much left, but it's probably low intense, workouts and some serious golf swings.
Pickleball instead of tennis, golf instead of flag football.
Yeah.
I'm just becoming like an old basic white guy.
That checks out.
That's about it.
There. I'm trying to avoid it as long as I can, but I don't know. It's coming for me. It's coming for me quickly.
All right. Today we got a bunch of topics that we're going to be hitting on with Brooks. We're going to talk a little bit about Stetson Bennett, his debut as a Ram, and kind of what we expect for him possibly this season. We'll talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, of course, some of the battles going on in spring, our expectations, the schedule, Bobo, Carson, and then we'll get outside the Georgia Bulldogs and talk a little SEC in general, some big topics going on as we get closer and closer to when this show comes out. We're essentially a week away from college football, which is just crazy to think about. But I do want to start with Stetson, because someone that I think you and I both respect a lot. And it's just mind-blowing to me. I talked to Carson Beck about this the other day. The fact that we could be seeing Stetson Bennett as a starting quarterback in the NFL as a rookie this season. Does that just blow your mind from where he's come from?
So I think that's going to require Matt Stafford to get some type of injury or something like that. Which very well could happen. Yep. But in terms of, I think the most mind-blowing thing for a lot of people is that he's ready to do so, or at least prove that he is ready to be an NFL starting caliber quarterback. And when I went and watched the tape, man, it's like all 32 starts, all 42 college games, all that experience. It showed up, man. Like it's a guy that was very clearly processing the information that was in front of him. And the important thing in the NFL is playing on time.
Yep.
There were still the Stetson Bennett plays where he's scrambling around doing things that he probably shouldn't be doing.
The big sack.
Yep. I mean, he probably threw two or three balls that should have been picked. Yep. Opening drive, dang near throws a pick six on a speed out. Like, there are things that he's still making errors, still doing Stetson Bennett things, but the reason the Los Angeles Rams drafted him and they prioritized him in this draft was because of his athletic ability, his ability to extend plays, but really his mind. Like, if you watched him play on Saturday or Sunday, you could tell that was a guy that was processing football, and that's very, very important.
Well, he's not afraid to take risks.
No.
And I got a funny story for, obviously, a lot of the people watching are Georgia fans, which are in turn Falcons fans. I was at a golf event, 3-day event, about 2 months ago, and Matt Ryan was there. This was CBS's golf event they take us to every year. Even though I'm a part of the dark side with ESPN, they still invite me, which is great. And Matty Ice, who now is going to be calling games for CBS, was there, and Rondé Barber, who's a former DB for the Bucks. And Rondé was kind of giving some dinner speech because he was the captain of Team USA. We did a Ryder Cup style. And Rondé brought up the fact that one of his favorite plays was picking off Matt Ryan back when the Bucks and Falcons obviously go at it, and those two got to go back and forth. And Matt Ryan got up afterwards and said, listen, and I'll tone it down because there were some explicits in there too. If you're scared to make a mistake as a quarterback, you won't make it in the NFL. And the one thing that you know about Stetson Bennett, we've seen it for 2 years, he's not afraid to make a mistake. And Carson told me this the other day too. He said, the thing that I've learned from Stetson is it's always the next play. I screwed up, whatever, next play, next play, next play, next play. Like, there's that dog, that thirst in him. And what people have always doubted about Stetson was, could he make the NFL throws?
Yeah.
Dude, he made plenty of NFL throws in college, and he did it in that first preseason game too.
And did it in 3-step drops, did it in 5-step drops, did it in rollouts, did it in shotgun, did everything required to play NFL quarterback, and played well on time. I wonder how he had the ability to play with such confidence, knowing that his entire career he had an extremely short leash.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have the mindset of, screw it, next play, when your next play could maybe be your last if it's a bad enough mistake.
Yep.
And Lord knows he made a lot of them. So, like, when I watch him play as a critic, I'm like, do you coach these things out? Do you say, hey, we got to stop this, we can't play like this? Or do you just say, no, that's why he is who he is, that's why he is what he is, just let him go?
I think you have to let him go.
Yeah.
I think he got better to me from junior year to senior year of being a little less reckless with the football. I go back, I always think about the game versus Michigan. He got away with it, but he was rolling to the right, throws back across his body, ball should have been picked. Like, there were multiple times like that his junior year where he would try to do something that Patrick Mahomes could do or that Aaron Rodgers could do. And I think he did humble himself just a little bit the senior year where he wasn't as reckless. A couple times throw the ball away when he had to, run the ball if nothing was there. So he has matured. But I always tell people, like, all the great athletes, quarterbacks included in this, obviously, you have to play in that line of cocky and confident. Like, you got to board. Like, I don't want you to go over it where you're cocky and thinking you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
But you have to play with extreme confidence. Like, you got to walk onto the field believing that you're the baddest MFer out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that Stetson does believe in. I think Stetson truly believes that he's one of the greatest quarterbacks in the world. And you have to have that mentality, or you won't have success.
And by the way, I think if he were 6'2", people would look at him like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because when I watch him mechanically, he's as clean as anybody.
Yep.
Athletically, he's as good as anybody. He may not have like a 1% arm. There are some balls that might flutter on him, or there's some things that don't come out like the Mahomes and the Josh Allens of the world. But 90% of quarterback play is layering and playing with anticipation, if you will.
Well, yeah, and processing it.
Yeah, processing.
Can your eyes be in the right spot? Can your feet be in the right spot? And can you throw the ball with anticipation? And I think he does that.
He does all those things
incredibly well and throws it with accuracy. You don't need a rocket arm. I'll go back to like me working with these kids the other day. They see me come out, so the quarterback, as a quarterback running back, he tries to start gunning it. I'm like, dude, no receiver wants to catch a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. Like, I learned that like my first week in the NFL. I go out there, I'm nervous, obviously, and I'm gunning it and throwing it as hard as I can to try and impress, Andy Reid and Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy. And I remember one of the receivers came up to me, Avery, and he's like, Aaron, calm down.
Chill
Like,
out, bro.
none of us want to catch a 99-mile-per-hour slant. Just put it in our chest, make it catchable, and let us do our thing.
Yeah.
And that's all receivers want. They don't care if you throw it that fast.
Yeah.
Can you throw it to a spot where I can catch it and run?
Be a facilitator.
Yes.
That's your job.
And that's what Stetson can do. So if Stetson is QB1 this year, at some point, listen, Stafford's my guy. I love Stafford. I hope Stafford has another great year and the Rams win the Super Bowl. But Stafford's getting up there in age. Stafford's had some injury issues in the past. Obviously, he's had a hell of a career. Could Stetson lead the Rams in a rookie year to success?
I want to see what happens when defenses become a little bit more multiple.
Yeah.
Like the Chargers, I mean, it was preseason game one, and a lot of teams, they, very limited in their blitz package, very limited in their coverage package. So he saw a lot of man coverage, and when he didn't, he saw obvious signs of zone coverage. That's not the reality of NFL football. The reality of NFL football is it looks like one thing pre-snap, it's a whole nother thing post-snap. Not saying he can't do those things, but when that starts to change, when the difficulties of defense in front of him start to elevate, let me see what happens then. And I have belief and faith that he will be able to do that. But let's check that box before we're like, yeah, for sure, going to survive in the NFL this year. But I think or thrive at least. I think he'll survive no matter what. I think he's qualified to do that.
He's in a good situation.
Facts.
It's half the battle. Can you be on a good football team with an offensive-minded coach with talent? I think the fit is as soon as he got drafted by the Rams, I'm like, that's the best spot he could have gone to. So Stetson, man, good luck if you get in there. Stafford, obviously, do your thing because we know you're pretty damn good too. I want to transition now to Carson.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my boys, T-Bob, who I do a more national show with, kind of brought this up to me the other day about Georgia. Does Stetson's success in preseason put more pressure on Carson because now people are saying, oh, wow, Stetson is legit. Oh, wow, Stetson is that good. And now we did lose someone that was an integral part of what we were able to do these past 2 years.
I think one thing that Kirby's done a great job of, and I know they're young men, and they're impressionable and all those things, but the standard and whatever the feeling inside the building is what matters, right? So, like, they knew how good Stetson was. They practice and compete so hard. They, like you talked about it last time, the reason those other guys haven't left because they know how good Carson is. So if they know how good Carson is, I would imagine Carson knew how good Stetson was. And when you sit down with Carson, you probably get that sense too. They knew that 13 was a good football player. It wasn't this spook or wasn't this spoof. This wasn't Tebow time in the NFL where it just like works out somehow. This wasn't that. They knew how he was an extremely talented football player. So when it comes to pressures and when I talk to Georgia football players and when I listen to them speak, and it may just be that. It may just be the tongue and just how they talk. But all the pressures and all the standard setting and all of that, narrative driving comes from inward. It comes from inside that building. And the outside narrative is just that it's outside, and they don't allow those things to infiltrate.
Do you think Georgia fans, I guess, respect Stetson when he's done a little bit more, seeing that he is having and could have possible success in the NFL, and kind of go back to the question, view now that position as a bigger void to be filled, and not just say, Stetson was okay, but really it was the defense, really it was Todd Monken and his offense, and Stetson benefited from that.
Had Stetson left after 2021, I think maybe, right? But I think the 2022 season may have gotten through even the thickest-headed Georgia fans that no, this guy's good, man. This guy broke a passing record at Georgia. This guy had the first 4,000-yard season ever. Like, Stetson did not game manage himself to a second national title. Stetson was a Heisman finalist. Like, this wasn't something that was spoofy or, the thing that was just a one-up. Like, had it left after 2021, people would have been like, all right, it's a roster, it's an idea about talent and things like that. But, no, I think people understand the void that was left. But I think Carson did a good enough job in the limited reps that he got last year in the fourth quarters and third quarters of even some games, right? And did enough in the G-Day scrimmage where people that know football feel confident about his abilities and his ability to process information.
You bring up the Stetson breaking that record, which I believe was mine. Carson.
You believe it was yours, or it was yours?
I know it was mine. Carson, so if you haven't seen that one, I had an exclusive one-on-one with Carson Beck, so make sure you go check that out on the website. He looked at me afterwards, kind of off camera, and said,
I'm getting that one.
By the way, I'm going to get your touchdown record.
Oh.
So I got, Stetson took the yardage. Carson's trying to take my single season touchdown record. I got Will Rogers at Mississippi State trying to take my, all my SEC records this year.
That thing's gone.
I may be all these records may be gone by the end of the damn season, so I'll be all lonely.
Barring a Will Rogers injury, we ran the stats on it on the show the other day. He has to average 197 yards a game this year
for the yardage. I just want touch. I don't
record.
care about yardages.
You don't?
I mean, I would like to keep it, but
dude, it's a
touchdown.
record that might not ever get broken. Once Will Rogers breaks it, because how many guys are sticking around starting 4 years now?
Well, and the offense he was in too. Let's not.
And the offense he was in too. He had way more cracks at it than.
Well, that's why I feel good about my touchdown record, because you have to be a 4-year starter to get a touchdown, and he necessarily won't get it this year. He'd have to have the best year of his career. I think it's like 38 touchdowns. I keep acting like I don't know. It's 38 touchdowns. But the crappy thing is he could have another year. He could have a COVID year. He could have 5 years. Mm-hmm. Defend me. Should there be an asterisk if he gets a 5th year to break my record?
No, that's not how this works, man.
Why does someone get a 5th year to play college football?
Some guys are getting 6. So they're not getting to play 6. They're getting 6 to play 5.
He's getting 5 years to play college
Yeah, no, that's
football.
unfortunate for you, man.
That's bullcrap.
That's unfortunate.
That's bullcrap.
It is.
I hope Will Rogers balls out this year.
But it's bullcrap.
I hope he balls out, gets like 30 touchdowns, leads my touchdown record, and goes to the NFL.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah.
That he doesn't want to stay around for a 5th year.
I think he's going to get you this year anyways.
You think he's going to have 38 touchdowns? And
no, the total touchdown record, no, I don't think he catches that.
Yeah.
But no, the yardage record is gone. You can say bye-bye.
Yeah.
And then the touchdowns record, you might be able to hold on for
That's all I
good.
want. I just
forever.
want a touchdown.
You might have that forever.
Yeah, if he doesn't get it, I think I will for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw my rankings for quarterbacks or not. We're just going to take a quick break from Georgia Talk. We'll be right back. Don't worry. A lot of people are upset with me because I put him at 9th. Where would you put Will Rogers when it comes to quarterbacks in SEC heading into the season?
So I think the thing about Will that people get misconstrued is that, just because the yardage is there and just because the attempts are there and the completion percentage is there, and he does make good decisions with the football. Yeah. He's not immensely talented, he's not. I mean, he's 6'2", he's 205, he's got an A- to B+ arm, and he's not a great athlete. You wouldn't even give him B+.
I'd give him like a B-,
yeah.
C+. Stetson,
he's 85 off the bump.
Stetson is significantly better arm strength.
He's Tom Glavine. That's what he is.
He probably is. If you want to line those guys up and do a throw the football with a, like they do in the NFL draft with the gun and see how fast it's going, I would say he's bottom 3 or 4 in the SEC.
And so when you do it, I would imagine that was a film evaluation, not just a stat evaluation. Like, we're going to go watch these guys and then give our takes.
Yeah, I covered him. Listen, I love his game. I think he's probably the most mature quarterback in the SEC.
Not a lot of wow.
His ability to process and find the open receiver is great, but there isn't a wow factor.
Yeah, not a lot of wow.
There's not a guy that I feel like can necessarily possibly completely take over a game.
All those other guys you ranked probably ahead of him, at least once or twice a game, make you say, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, how'd you do that?
He's not. He's Chad Pennington.
I like that.
He's Chad Pennington.
It's a good little comp.
Yeah. Which is, listen, he'll get a chance in the NFL because he's smart, he processes, takes care of the football, but there is a little bit of a lack of wow to me, which just, it hurts it a little bit in my mind. But he's a great quarterback.
But if I were to start a team tomorrow, I would take that quarterback in college over a guy like Spencer Rattler who could turn it over any second, even though Spencer does incredible things.
Yeah.
But we play college football, man. Like, it's about doing this, and we can't have big momentum swings like you randomly throwing a pick when we shouldn't.
Yeah, I get that one. All right, back to Georgia a little bit. I want to talk about the evolution of offenses. And obviously Georgia has evolved a little bit over the past few years, but there's still been a component of ground and pound. We're the more dominant. You've seen Michigan and kind of how they've had success versus Ohio State. They've not gone back to completely old school football. There's no fullback. There's no all that. But it is more of a we're going to win inside the box, offensive line, defensive line. And Georgia's been the bullies of the SEC. They've kind of taken that away from Alabama, who's gone to more of a, Bryce Young has dominated offensive line that's not had much success. You look at Georgia this year, I would say elite receivers. You got Brock. You have Carson Beck, who is an elite thrower of the football. So there is a mentality of, oh my God, Georgia could be an offense that maybe scores in the 40s points per game this year. but are you afraid of going too far away from what's made Georgia great these past 2 years of being that physical football team if you get a little bit more finesse throwing the football?
I don't know if the football like style of passing game becomes more finesse. It certainly won't be as tight and compact. I felt like with Monken, and that was part of Darnell. You know what I mean? Like Darnell's ability to be an end of line tight end and really control the point of the attack in the run game while also caving things down in the passing game. I think that kind of created this tight to spread like after post snap type deal. Whereas now you look at the roster construction, and even if Monken were still here, you would look at it and you say, all right, we've got 5 great offensive linemen that are really good in both the run game and pass protection. We gave up 7 sacks last year all year. We're great up front. We got all these guys at the receiver position that can really get open, but maybe not get open now. Guys like Ladd McConkey run to grass really, really well. Dominic Lovett runs to grass really, really well. Same thing with Brock Bowers. I think the offense would have morphed into a, hey, we can pass protect for a long time. We got guys that are great after the catch. Let's run a lot of horizontal concepts. Let's protect all day long, and let's live in 3rd and 4. Let's live in 3rd and 3 because we got a quarterback that can process that and be great. I think Georgia's offense this year is going to be one of the best, if not the best, in 3rd down efficiency rates because of what they're going to be in. They're going to be in a lot of 3rd and 2s, a lot of 3rd and 3s.
Well, and they're going to be able to mix up the packages too, where you have to make a decision on 3rd and 2 and 3 if Georgia wants to play 12 personnel because they still got. I know you lose Washington, but man, for Oscar and Lawson Lucky, and I've heard nothing but good things from Pierce Sperlin and what he's been able to do in fall camp. You can still put 12, 13 personnel on the field, even with all the great receivers, and just say, make a decision. If you want to go light, we can run the ball in 3rd and 3 and get a first down. If you want to go heavy, then we can move those guys out and get a matchup where Brock Bowers can run a hitch, slant, or a go route on 3rd and 3. You don't know what he's going to run against a linebacker or safety, and you take advantage of it that way too.
It might not be as heavy without Darnell in terms of the run game. But Oscar Delp is very similar in Brock Bowers in the sense that like it's a difficult who do we cover him with discussion. Do we let a linebacker try to cover that guy? Do we put a safety on him? And all you're trying to do when you have talented tight ends, or all Georgia's been trying to do these last couple of years, is manipulate personnel counts. Basically, hey, we're in 12 personnel, but are you going to play 5 DBs or are you going to play 4? And if you play 4 DBs, which means you have an extra linebacker on the field, guess what we're going to do? We're going to spread out, and now you can't cover us. But if you leave 5 DBs on the field, now you can't stop us in the run game. That is still an option and available to this offense.
And I just want fans to realize, too, like, Carson's not Stetson with the wheels, but Carson's mobile. Carson's not a statue. Like, I think there's a misconception out there that all of a sudden now we have Tom Brady at quarterback, and you're just gonna have a guy that sits in the pocket and that's all he does. Carson's he's an athlete.
But he's a builder, right? I think he's 5 to 10 fast. The 0 to 5, the suddenness of him. He's bigger. But the suddenness is the only thing that concerns. It's not a major concern. It's the only knock if there is one. Hey, if the left tackle gets beat right now, or do we have the suddenness to make that guy miss?
He has a little something.
We're gonna see.
We're gonna find out.
You have faith in that. We don't have the knowledge.
The one thing that I don't think he's not a break a 30-yard run guy.
No.
He's not a break a 20-yard. But I think he's a guy that is big enough and has a little something wiggle to where he can get you 5-10 yards.
That's all I need.
That's all you need.
The word is wiggle.
Yes.
Do we have wiggle? Do we have some suddenness to make the first guy miss?
That's all I worry about.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kirby is kind of put himself in. You look at all the preseason polls. Is who's the best, head coach in America today? Not of all time, but today.
Yeah.
It's Kirby. I think most people agree it's Kirby. Some people are a little bit soft with it. They do a 1A, 1B. No, it's 1 is Kirby, 2 is Nick Saban. That's what it should be heading into the season. But if what we feel like could happen, and Georgia does get a three-peat, he's 4 natties behind Nick Saban. But then what is that national narrative going forward if he does get that third, do it 3 years in a row, something that Saban's never done?
I don't even think if Georgia wins a 3rd national title, I don't think the narrative and the talking points nationally become how great is Kirby Smart. I think it just starts to talk about is it time for Nick Saban to go away? Yeah. The immediate greatness we know, it's like an obvious one. If they win 3 national titles, it's like, all right, Kirby Smart and what Georgia has done is the greatest run in the history of college football. We have to say that. In terms of an immediate success, not a 12-year run. They haven't been able to build that yet.
Could people start fathoming the
idea
thought
of him
process
passing
of
Saban?
him passing Saban?
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
I feel like Saban's been put on such a pedestal, which he deserves. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
Saban is the best of all time, but it's kind of like no one will ever be able to achieve what Saban's achieved. If he gets to 3 this fast at his age and 3 in a row, does it cross people's minds, in your opinion, that maybe Kirby could surpass what Saban's done?
For sure. I mean, I think there's a moment in this where you have like that much immediate success and it comes that quickly for you. It's the totality of Nick Saban's career though that we're measuring it up to.
Yeah.
And 7 or 8, is it 8?
7.
7 is still more than 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though 3 is an immediate, like, hey, 3 in a row, wow, incredible, greatest thing to ever be done in college football. 7 is still more than 3, just like 6 is still more than 4 in that Michael Jordan LeBron discussion.
Yep.
You know, it's a totality discussion when it comes to GOAT status.
But
for
what does it help Kirby, the sense that it's probably a little bit harder now than what Saban had to do?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if even the 2 in a row, I think is the most difficult thing that's been done in college football because it hasn't been done in college football. Like most people that win a college football playoff national title, in this era, they barely make the playoff the next year, and if they do, they don't make the title game. So like it's really really hard to do what he's already done. If he does 3, then yeah, like we've already passed into uncharted territory.
Yeah. Golly, it's crazy, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon, which is crazy to me. From a guy that people love, and obviously Kirby Smart and what he's accomplished, to someone who I big time disagree with this, but there is a narrative out there and kind of almost disbelief when the hire was made. But I think there's a huge show me moment for Bobo this year, and I think there's also a not, I wouldn't say large, but a good group of people that are looking for him to fail, to kind of get on his back a little bit more.
What is it?
I don't know.
I don't either. I don't get it. The dude's done nothing but put up points everywhere he's ever gone. Like y'all, I say y'all because I know Georgia fans listen to most of this. Georgia fans glorify Todd Monken because Todd Monken, y'all think he like revolutionized offense, and he did. He changed things. It was much better than it was under the early Kirby Smart regimes. But all those first time since moments in the stat book that Todd Monken has, it was first time since Mike Bobo.
Yeah.
First time Georgia scored 40 points per game. Since Mike Bobo. First time Georgia had a quarterback average 300 yards per game. Since Mike Bobo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's since Mike Bobo for your offense. Every statistical category, when you do it great, it's since Mike Bobo.
Yeah.
So, like, because he called too many halfback draws on 3rd and 11, like, people have some type of disdain for him. I don't really get it. Dude went out to Colorado State and put guys in the league.
Yeah.
Like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
When was the last time a guy like Michael Gallup come out of Colorado State?
Yeah.
It ain't happening, and it won't happen. He went to Auburn, Tank Bigsby, career year. He goes to South Carolina. They actually have an offense. Like, they actually put
Without a
together,
quarterback.
Without a quarterback.
Without a quarterback.
Luke Doty's up there playing quarterback, and they actually have an ability to score points in the SEC. Like, what? I don't get it. When I studied him at Auburn, like, and I do a what to expect every single week, we're watching the coordinators, and we're like, dude, Bobo is good.
Yeah,
like, every single time I left with impressions of, this guy knows offense. I just don't understand why people think he's not good, because he's done nothing but be good.
I think it's he's so close to the program because he grew up in Georgia.
Yeah.
He played at Georgia. That whenever you get to know someone for too long, then you start trying to really pick out issues with them.
Mm-hmm.
Where Monken came in, had success, and left. Bobo's been around for so long that people maybe it's a fatigue factor, and you start looking at the negatives instead of focusing on all the great things that he has done. But I'm with you. I don't get it. I mean, I talked to Ben Jones the other day about this as well. We did a little bit of show, and I asked him a similar question, and he's like, people don't understand. They want success every drive. They want success 3rd and 15, find a way to get us the first down. And sometimes like there's the game of chess that needs to be played of, we gotta, we're at our 40-yard line. If we get 5 yards and our punter punts inside the 15-10, we put our defense on the field, they get a 3 and out, and then all of a sudden we have the ball at the 50-yard line. Like playing complementary football instead of a 5-step drop, quarterback gets sacked, all of a sudden you punt the ball, the team has the ball in the 30. Like, that is part of the game too. So yes, there are certain times where it's a 3rd and long situation where you run a draw, you do a screen, and it works. It's great. If not, then you punt the ball. There's nothing wrong with punting, and you set yourself up for the next drive.
I'll never forget. And I didn't play obviously as high level football as you did, but I was in a situation where it was 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14. We'd given up like 4 or 5 sacks that day already, and we call it a halfback draw or a halfback screen or something like that. And I come off the sideline and I'm like, why are we not competing? Why are we not trying to pick up first down? And my offensive coordinator walked over and handed me the play sheet and said, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
How many of those in the playbook are for 3rd and 15?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How many are successful today?
How many of these lead to positive results that don't end up in turnovers or worse, negative yardage?
Yes.
Like sometimes a punt is good.
Yes, punt is good, especially with Georgia this year, which listen, I want first downs. I want them to score 40 points. I think they're going to do that plenty. But there are going to be times where it is 3rd and long, and you just have to say, we have a great defense. We're playing field position.
Hey, and by the way, did you watch Todd Monken for 3 years? If it was 3rd and 15, you know what he did? Tunnel screen.
Yep.
Downside Hut, throw it to Lab McConkey. Downside Hut, throw it to Karras Jackson. See what happens. We're just trying to, maybe bust a play.
Yes, just try to bust a play. Georgia fans, I hope, and I think he has a massive chip on his shoulder from some people I talk to. I think he's going to want to put up 45 points. I think he's going to want to reset some records this year.
He already carries himself with that I'm mad at the world.
Yeah.
Like if you know Mike Bobo, I've only had a chance to interact with him a couple times, but he's kind of always on edge. And the fact that he's walking into a situation with even more of a chip, he's going to be all right this year.
Plus, which brings us nicely to our next topic, the schedule lined up nicely for them to put up some pretty massive stats. The one worry I hear from fans is the schedule's so easy. Will they be ready to face LSU or Bama or Michigan or Ohio State or USC or whoever it is? Like, when they get to that point of we got to perform 4 quarters against another elite team, and we haven't seen that for 12 weeks because we don't know what Tennessee's going to be. We can think that Tennessee's going to be good. We can think that Joe Milton has all the talent in the world, but that's still a what if factor. They're still early on in the tenure of Heupel where they haven't built the depth yet. But does this schedule sort of hurt Georgia in your mind?
So it would for most programs. I would be worried about what you're worried about, which is the Clemson effect, right? Clemson, every single year, they'd get to January, and people like you and me would have to sit there and analyze a football game and go, well, I don't know who they are. I don't know who they are. I don't know. They haven't been tested. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're good. We're going to have to do a lot of that this year. A lot of people are going to have to do that with Georgia. But the difference, and I don't know much about the Clemson program and how they roll, but the difference is that, like, I think Kirby Smart does a really good job of doing what I call manufacturing chaos. Like, he creates tense situations in practice. Yeah. He creates competitive environments. He creates, self-doubt, because that's what that is. Yeah. Like, you want to believe that you're the greatest ever, but until you're tested, until you have a moment of self-doubt and you overcome that, you don't really know. Yeah. So he does a good enough job as a head football coach of manufacturing that chaos, testing these guys day in and day out, and having the environment of being on edge, because that's what that is. We might lose this game. Oh, shit. They got to create that in practice.
You have to, but there's still a difference between that
and the real stuff. No, 100%.
There's still 100%. I mean, I went to go watch this movie the other day, Gran Turismo, which was actually a really good movie. And, the whole thing was these kids that drive these simulated car races got an opportunity to drive real race cars. And the big thing was like, well, if you crash in this game, whatever, but you crash in real life, you ain't going to take that turn knowing that your life's on the line. Like, that adrenaline rush is always going to be different, and your mentality is always going to be different when it's a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday night, and there are consequences to it. If I jump this pass and it's a double move in practice and he takes it for a touchdown, no points are going on the scoreboard.
None.
I do that in a game, and there's 7 points, and all of a sudden my butt gets a little bit tight to the rest of the game. So, yes, there are consequences because Kirby's your coach and the way he grinds you, but there's still no points going on the board one way or the other. That is my word. My hope is that South Carolina Week 3 is a ball game.
You want that to happen, huh?
I think it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I think it needs to happen. They need a Missouri from last year type of game early in the season to get them in the right mindset.
I can make the case for that happening. South Carolina's entire front seven's got like 30 starts apiece.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. So if there were a defensive line, or because that's what Missouri was last year,
Yep.
you watch that film, Missouri came out and punched them dudes right in the mouth. It's like that. It's particularly defensive line.
Yep.
The whole first 3 quarters, they couldn't run the ball.
Dominated.
I mean, guys like Warren McClendon and Tate Ratledge are 2 yards in the backfield, and they're like, "What the hell is going on today?"
Yeah.
And they had to figure it out. I don't know if South Carolina can do that, but they're old enough to do that, you know. And if they show up with that type of edge, there's a potential for it to happen.
Which, I mean, am I wrong to think that, like, as a fan, I kind of want that?
No.
Yeah.
As a football mind, you're definitely not wrong for it because you understand
I think Kirby
the
would love
quality
it.
of that.
If you know week 3 in the season that Carson can lead us down and win a football game for us in the fourth quarter, I think at that point, I think the narrative becomes Georgia's even higher in my books of a chance to win championship, even if it's a close game.
Murray, you're going to have people out here on social media saying Kirby staged a close game against South Carolina if it happens. You watch.
Yeah.
There's people out here when Georgia plays tight games, it's like Kirby wanted this to happen.
I think he does.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean, he can't stage it, but I think if that happened,
he'd be happy
he would sit down
as long
and
as
say,
they squeak it out.
If they squeak it out, and especially if Carson found a way to win in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
he would say,
That
I
was
got
good
my
for us.
guy. I got my guy. I know he can win a game for us versus Michigan or Ohio State if it came to that.
Yeah, you boys got different nerves than I do. I ain't
I
got
love
them
it.
kind of nerves of steel. I'm trying to beat the brakes off of everybody.
I mean, I get that. I'm just saying, like, I know Georgia's better than everyone else in the country, talent-wise, but they're going to be a game at some point. It's just going to happen. Versus a team that does have just as much talent, if not just a little bit less, that I need to know Carson has the cojones to go win it for us in the fourth quarter.
Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss is a good game. I think it's a great game.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee's
But you get both those at home. I'm not as worried about Tennessee because of what Georgia has done to that offense schematically. It's just like, all right, we're better than y'all.
Yeah.
We're just going to walk up in you. We're going to get in your face. We're going to pressure the quarterback. We are better than you out here.
And Tennessee has some issues at O-line that need to get answered before you feel good of them giving Joe Milton time to throw the football anyways.
sure.
So we'll see about that. Sticking on the East a little bit, talked about South Carolina. We talked about Tennessee real quick. Those games for Georgia on their schedule. Which team are we not talking about that would surprise you? Like, who should Georgia fans truly be more concerned about in the East this year?
They don't surprise you every year because it's every year, but they're never talked about, and it's Kentucky.
Yeah.
You know, Liam Cohen coming back from the Rams and being that offensive coordinator again, that's huge for them. They had a lot of success in Will Levis's first year there with him as the offensive coordinator. He leaves in 2022, and then Levis kind of has a down year last year. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Cohen comes back. They get Devin Lear from NC State. You know, under Mark Stoops, they're going to play solidified defense.
Yep.
They might not have as many dudes as you, but they're going to be gap sound everywhere they are, and they're going to be different too, right? It's a very different scheme. It's a very odd front defense. Your combination blocks as offensive line is going to feel different. So as a unit, we are going to be uncomfortable for at least the first 6 drives, 4 or 5 drives as a unit, and that always leads to slow starts most likely for offenses. So Kentucky's always given, Kirby football teams some trouble.
Yep.
I think this is another year where you look at it and you're like, all right, if the line is 14 points, we probably don't bet on Georgia to cover it. I bet on Georgia to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't think they blow those teams out. They never do.
I went back and watched some Leary film from 2 years ago. Obviously, last year was interesting for him. Injuries, some issues
Immensely
with guys
talented.
around him. Yeah. But 2 years ago, watching him just as a pure passer of throwing the football, like,
He can cut it.
dude's got talent. 35 touchdowns, 5 picks, and can make every single throw you want. I was like, you put that with some, they had some youth at receiver last year. They're going to be better and more experienced there. They have a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like that game to me could, and most likely in my mind, be the closer game that Georgia faces in the East this season.
Yeah, and like I said, Mark Stoops has always got his football team prepared for that game, and they fight for 4 quarters too, every single year. And that Liam Cohen offense, man, I know Leary's an extremely talented football player and thrower of the football. that offense doesn't require a whole lot out of the quarterback, really. If you really watch it, it's like, all right, they were really compromised off of Wendell Robinson a couple years ago when they were really good offensively. You know, handing it to Rodriguez, being solid in the run game, having a little tight end heavy, and then getting it out quick to Wendell Robinson. It's a good offense, and they got a talented quarterback. So, watch out.
Offense has to be better, too.
Yeah, offense line has to get better.
Last one outside of Georgia. When we're recording this right now, Alabama has yet to make a decision at the quarterback spot. So maybe by the time this does air, Alabama will have a decision of who QB1 is going to be. But can you win? I guess this is more of a holistic question, too, for the nation. Can you win without an elite quarterback or a really good quarterback in today's game?
I think you have to have,
Win it all.
I think in 2021, Georgia had above average quarterback play in Stetson Bennett. And I think he would even admit that. He was slightly above average. I think in 2022, they had good to great quarterback play in spurts. And in 2021, to overcome good, just to above average quarterback play, they had to have a historic defense. Probably the best defense we've seen in modern college football. So that's what it takes. So if you're asking me, hey, we don't have a solidified quarterback. All right, well, you better have the best defense we've seen in 15 years. Do you have that? No. Okay, so if you don't have that, then that's an issue. I think the main concern, if you're even at Ohio State, is listening to your coach at Alabama and Ohio State use the media as a way to challenge your quarterback room to say, we don't have anybody stepping up. Somebody make me give you this job. And that's what Nick Saban did this week. And that's what Ryan Day did this week. And for people spinning that conversation back on Georgia, well, Carson Beck doesn't have a bunch of career starts, doesn't have a known. Y'all haven't named a starter. I haven't seen Kirby Smart use the media as a way of saying, hey, we need somebody to step up in this room. I think they've had somebody step up in that room.
Yes,
they just haven't told you.
Yeah, which I don't know why. I think everyone knows it's going to be Carson.
Yeah.
I don't know why the hesitancy, but you know these coaches like to play everything close to chest. But I agree. Like, I would be concerned, and for Alabama fans, I know you want to win every year, and like there is this expectation of winning every year. Being like, there's nothing wrong with having a true rebuild year.
Yeah.
Because of the way they've recruited. If Ty Simpson is the guy and he progresses this year, but you don't win a championship, and you have all that talent returning next year, like next year to me is Alabama's year.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
By the way, I think the guy at Alabama is Dylan Lonergan. I think he is. He's from right down the road, right at Brookwood High School.
He's got the biggest arm on the team, I
Dude,
heard.
he's such a good athlete.
Yeah.
Like I think people missed that on the evaluation of Brookwood because he had such a porous offensive line that he wasn't able to really like be involved much other than, hey, let's get the ball out of your hands quickly. Let's do all those things. But that dude's like a 4.65 runner at 6'3", 225 pounds. He can rip it. Like, he is good.
That'd be the guy.
And yeah, I think even there's some rumblings that even this year he might be the guy in the room, just might not be ready for them to hand him the mantle. But he's a good
I'm more
football
concerned
player.
Alabama 2024 going forward than this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, that's another great episode, Players Lounge with Brooks Austin. Once again, you can catch us every single week. I'll be jumping on his show. Can't wait to get in studio with him. He'll be jumping on, obviously, our show. Going to give you great coverage of the Bulldogs, SEC all year long. So continue to check us out. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel and go to the website as well. Got a lot of great content coming out. Had a great piece with Carson Beck that's out right now. So go make your account, and I guess I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah, man, we'll see you.
Thanks again for tuning into another episode of the Players Lounge, and make sure you go check out Athens Ford and mention this episode of the Players Lounge to get 5% off your vehicle service up to $500 or get $500 off your vehicle purchase.